I never imagined that one night could unravel everything I had built with Mark. My name is Clara, I'm 32 and I always believed our marriage was solid. We had been together for 8 years, married for 5, and in my mind he was the kind of man who could weather any storm. Calm, reliable, the one I leaned on for everything. Or so I thought. It started as a casual Friday evening. I had planned a small get-together with a few friends at our apartment. Nothing too fancy, just drinks and laughter, a little escape from the work week. Mark wasn't much into socializing, but he came for me as he always did. I smiled to myself thinking how lucky I was that he tolerated my chaos. He never made a fuss about anything. I could tease him, joke around, and he would just laugh along, never taking anything seriously. That night I thought it would be no different. The evening started smoothly. Drinks were poured, music played softly in the background, and we all chatted about our week. Everything felt ordinary, even comforting. That is until the conversation somehow drifted to past relationships. Someone asked me laughingly if I had ever been tempted to cheat. My heart skipped a beat, but I laughed nervously. "Oh please," I said, trying to sound lighthearted. "Mark's the best, but well, maybe I'd be lying if I said I'd never been curious." The room erupted into laughter, and I felt a rush of heat rise to my cheeks. It was supposed to be a joke, nothing more. I hadn't even noticed Mark stepping into the kitchen at that exact moment. He had overheard every word. For a split second I saw a flicker in his expression, but he forced a smile and said nothing. I didn't think much of it. After all, he always laughed things off, right? But that night was different. As the party went on, Mark became quiet, withdrawn. Not sulking, not angry, just distant. I tried nudging him, making little jokes, whispering to him from across the room, but the spark wasn't there. He smiled politely, but it was mechanical. A feeling of unease settled over me, one I didn't want to acknowledge. Later, when the guests had left, I expected him to be his usual calm self. Instead, he packed his coat, kissed me lightly on the cheek and said quietly, "I'm going for a walk." He didn't wait for me. He didn't say goodbye. Just left. My stomach sank. I called after him, but he didn't respond. I scoffed, rolling my eyes. Dramatic much? I muttered to myself, but inside, a small voice whispered that something had changed irrevocably. The next morning the apartment felt heavier. I tried to initiate conversation as we sipped our coffee. "Mark, are you still upset about last night? It was just a joke, come on." He looked up from his mug, his gaze steady and sharp, and said calmly, "It wasn't just a joke, Clara. It's years of jokes, years of me being the punchline, and I'm done pretending it doesn't hurt." I froze. My mind raced. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. He continued, "I've tried to ignore it, to laugh along with you, to pretend it's harmless. But it's not harmless. It's who you are, and I can't do this anymore." The words hit me like a blow. I wanted to laugh, to dismiss them, but the cold, unwavering look in his eyes made it impossible. My hands trembled slightly as I tried to grasp what he was saying. "You're serious?" I whispered. He nodded. No hesitation. No regret. Just clarity. Days passed and the distance only grew. Mark stopped answering my calls. Texts went unread. Even when I tried to approach him at work, his assistant gently told me he had left early. Every attempt to reach him was met with silence. I started replaying every moment, every word I had said over the years, trying to pinpoint the exact moment I had crossed a line. And then I remembered. The party. My careless confession. The laughter. The teasing. It wasn't a single joke that broke us. It was the pattern, the habitual mockery that I had thought was harmless. I realized, painfully, that I had taken him for granted, assumed he would always forgive, always laugh, always stay. But he didn't. He walked away. I reached out to our mutual friends, hoping someone would tell me he would come back. One of them, hesitating, finally said, "Clara, I think he's serious. I think he's done." Her words felt like a physical weight pressing down on me. I scoffed at first, trying to push them away, but deep inside I knew she was right. A week later, Mark came home briefly to collect some belongings. I had rehearsed what I would say, how I would apologize, how I would convince him that it was just a misunderstanding. But when I saw him standing in the doorway, calm, composed, and distant, I realized that no words could bridge the gap I had created. His eyes didn't hold anger, they held something I had never truly noticed before. Self-respect, quiet strength, and a boundary I had ignored for too long. "Clara," he said simply, "I deserve better than this. I deserve respect. I deserve a partner who values me, not someone who belittles me for amusement." I wanted to argue, to plead, to justify myself, but the truth was undeniable. I had pushed too far. The consequences were not immediate, dramatic, or explosive. They were subtle, quiet, and final. Mark left the apartment that day not in anger, not in chaos, but in a calm that spoke louder than any shouting ever could. I sat on the couch, staring at the space he had left behind. The realization dawned slowly and painfully. The life I had taken for granted was gone, and it would never return. The man I thought would always stay, the man I thought I understood completely, had chosen himself over my games, over my carelessness, over my lack of respect. And in doing so he had shown me what I had lost.